Everything we do is going to be about winning. Okay, we're going to learn to do things the right way, and that's the only way we're going to do them. Because if it doesn't help us, we're not doing it, man. That's just as simple as it gets. Win the Super Bowl.
That's good.
I mean it too. You know, one of the things that the only reason you become a head coach in this league, in my opinion, is to win. That's it. That's the bottom line. If you do it for any other reason, you're wrong.
Hey football fans, welcome to the Washington Command Center. Today I want to talk about what the Carson Wentz trade means to this franchise and what we can do to make the most of it in this new era of Washington football, an era where this proud franchise can once again command respect. And what better way to kick off this new era than subscribing here to the Washington Command Center so you can find your way back to some of the most opinionated and ice-cold calculated takes on all things Washington Commanders. While you're there, hit that like button, ring the notification bell so you can find your way back. Thanks. In the video, I'm going to give my thoughts on the Wentz trade. Also, give an idea of what I think we should do with what's left of free agency. I'm also going to give you guys a mock draft of what I think would be our best course of action in the draft. So, I've had an abscessed tooth for a couple weeks, and it's just been torture to talk. But it gave me some time to cool down over the Wentz trade. Like, when I heard the news, I was slightly disappointed. And when I saw the money, I exploded. Like, I was furious. I was ready to call for Ron's head. Then I calmed down a bit. And I thought about it. And I really looked at Wentz. And my man Bloodsport really likes Wentz. He was a fan of this before it happened. Like, he was like, man, Carson Wentz. Honestly, like, Commanders fans were looking at the Rams like we could somehow follow that blueprint. And last year, everybody wanted Stafford, me included. Everybody was all in. We wanted Stafford. Well, I think Wentz is a lot like Stafford in a lot of ways. He just never had a Megatron to, like, help him show off how good he was. And Wentz also grew up in nowhere, North Dakota, instead of bouncing between football factories like Georgia and Texas, like Stafford did, where he could go to the best programs and get the best exposure and end up at Georgia, you know, a great school. Wentz ended up playing at the FCS, and he still had so much talent, so much potential. People saw that this FCS school guy went number 2 overall. Now, he's a big guy like Stafford. He can move like Stafford. And he's got a cannon for an arm just like Stafford. And they both have that gunslinger mentality, good or bad. They're just very similar quarterbacks. Except he didn't cost us 2 first-round picks. And he's been a second-team All-Pro. He's been a Pro Bowler. He was well en route to an MVP when, you know, injury stuck in 2017. And when you look at what he's had around him, it honestly hasn't been much. I mean, in Philly, he had a deteriorating Alshon Jeffrey. He had a nice run with my guy Travis Fulgham for 500 yards in 2020. Wentz has kind of been in the same situation that Mariota was in for his first 4 years with the Titans. His top receiving option was his tight end. Like, Wentz had Zach Ertz and then Dallas Goedert, but he had no real wide receivers, just like Mariota did. And when your tight end is the only guy you can count on for 1,000 yards, your situation is bleak. Now, because of that, though, we got to see his ability and tendency to spread the ball around. Like, he really goes through his progressions, reads the field. He really goes through it. And contrary to what people are saying now about JD and Wentz and everything, like, people are saying he doesn't pass to his running back. That's crazy. Like, he fed Sproles for 400 yards, just Sproles in his rookie season. And then he had about the same combined through for Clements and Smallwood in 2017 when Sproles was injured. But he's pretty much had 400 yards or more to his running back every season. And it's not like JD's getting much more than that, you know. And his offensive line in Philly was a better pass blocking unit than the Titans. But in Indy, he was pretty much in the same situation as Mariota was in with the Titans. And another thing, through all this, like, I started getting defensive of Carson Wentz and mostly the team. Because everybody's out there saying, well, he couldn't make it with the Colts, and they're way better than Washington. How's he going to win with them? Like, what? How? How are they better? Like, they have a better run game, and that's it. Like, they have some pieces on defense, but that's it. They had the 30th ranked pass protection unit in the NFL last year. And yes, they're elite run blockers with an elite running back, but how good is that really, you know, for the quarterback if, hands down, the two best players on the offense outside of him are at the least valuable positions? The running back and the guard. Literally, lowest value positions on a football team. We have better pass protection, far better receiving talent, and we still have a 1,000-yard rusher. It's not like he's not going to have anybody to hand the ball off to. Wentz has top-tier arm talent. He's definitely a huge boost over Heineke, which, you know, if we get the best out of Wentz with this cupcake schedule, we can really make some noise this year. I mean, what does that do for us long term? I don't know. Like, does Ron think we can win a Super Bowl with him? I think he does. And you know what? Maybe we can. You know, maybe we can win a Super Bowl with this guy. People are blowing his loss to the Jags and the Raiders out of proportion. Like, the Jags beat the Bills last year. People weren't talking shit about Josh Allen. The Raiders beat Dallas, and they looked like really good at you know, through a lot of times last year. Now, I don't care about the context, what everybody wants to say about this, but Carson Wentz passed for 27 touchdowns with only 7 interceptions last year. And that's something we can work with. I mean, Burrow got to the Super Bowl, even though he lost, but he got there on 23 touchdowns and 14 interceptions. Logan Paulson said it, and Santana Moss has echoed, you know, what he said, but he said if we had Wentz, we would have won at least 3 more games last year. But check this out. Now, I know numbers aren't everything. It's not apples to apples, whatever. But actually, I'll make that point. Why it's not apples to apples. 7 more touchdowns and 8 less interceptions than Heineke. If you include the extra points, that's 49 points for the 7 more touchdowns. And let's say throwing 8 less interceptions takes 4 touchdowns off the opponent's board, conservatively. So that's a 77-point difference on our season. 77 points on the low side. Without taking into account how much more explosive our offense would be with Wentz, or with how much easier time he'd have scoring. He'd probably score 35 touchdowns here last year, even in the same situation. But just looking at the points difference, 77 points wins us 7 more games. We beat the Chargers, we beat Green Bay, we beat the Saints, Philly both times, Denver, and one of those wins against Dallas. Our losses against Dallas, we get a win there. And still have 11 points left over to either not look so bad against Dallas in that other game, or, you know, to be closer to Kansas City in that game. And honestly, if you think Carson Wentz can't do better with Terry and whoever else happened to be healthy on a week-to-week basis while under less pressure, you're crazy. If there's ever a guaranteed formula for getting better results out of a quarterback than giving, him a more talented wide receiver one, better overall pass catching group in general, and better protection, I don't know what is. That's a guaranteed formula for getting the best results, or at least better than the Colts got out of Carson Wentz. Now, we've got a bit of a shake-up in our offensive line this offseason, but these 2 seasons with Ron have me confident in his ability to put a top offensive line on the field no matter what. If just looking at some of the players we thought weren't going to work, he put them on the field and have looked like a good unit. Like Cornelius Lucas was our starting left tackle in Ron down the stretch in Ron's first season, and we had a top 6 unit then. We stayed right there. Doesn't matter who's there. Ron's system, like whatever, John Matsko, doesn't matter. We're going to have a top 10 unit. So some people might think that, a situation like that could reduce a quarterback's interceptions numbers, or give him more touchdowns. And, maybe that's more valuable than, running the ball consistently. I know, it's just crazy talk. But in a league where all the pundits are quick to tell you how it's a passer's league and how, running backs have low value, these guys are out here saying how much better the Colts are than us. And that's just what it is. Unless you're, running backs have no value unless you're comparing them to the Commanders team, then anything's better than what they got. Get the fuck out of here. And, man, just that switch from Wentz to Heineke is worth 7 wins. And we could have had a 14-4 season. How nuts is that? And I know we're losing some guys in free agency here so far. But, they're not our starters. And, man, I think we can kick off this new era in Washington football by kicking some ass and commanding some fucking respect around here. I think with the right moves in the draft and some smart free agency moves, we can put Wentz in by far the best situation he's ever been in. And I think Wentz puts us pretty close to being a Super Bowl contender. I know that might sound crazy, but with his cap hit, we are going to have to do some work in the draft, like old school Bill Belichick work. Trade backs, collecting picks. This draft has some serious talent. It's got a lot of perfect fits for us that are going to go in the second round, late first round. And I think free agency, we could still make some moves there, even though everything's kind of ticking down. I think we need to make some restructures, get some things done. There's still talent out there that we can pick up to help this team. And the kind of talent's left is like kind of the best value kind of talent, the low price guys that didn't get snapped up, that you got a great, talent to price ratio for. And, we need to be looking at some guys that have some connections with maybe Wentz or Ron's guys. I know people like to criticize Ron for building the Washington Panthers, but it's smart for Ron, to come here, take the talent we have and augment it with the guys that have proven themselves to him in Carolina. Now, I got a list here, and a few of them, Ron's guys. And then some of Wentz's old buddies. Now, it would have been really nice to have gotten Ertz or Jordan Hicks, but they got snatched up. But there's still a couple more guys out there that I think, we can pick up. And I think we can try to cash in on some come-home deals. to bring in some local guys, to add value. And hey, man, maybe that post June 1st money from Landon Collins will come into play. Maybe we'll pick up a guy or two later that hasn't got a call and is dying to play football. But yeah, let's kick off this list of free agents I think we should go after. So outside of Ertz and Hicks, who we missed out on, here's a guy. It's a super easy move to make. I've wanted to bring him here since last year before Wentz was even an idea, because he's a homer from Ashburn and looked like a pretty decent wide receiver, and that's Travis Fulgham. 6'2", 215 pounds. Plays a lot bigger than that. He's the kind of wide receiver Wentz loves. And they had a great connection in Philly where Fulgham was Wentz's top receiving target in 2020. Right now, Fulgham's on the Broncos practice squad, so we can sign him to our main roster for probably less than $1 million. This guy's a triple play when it comes to bringing him here for cheap, him being a hometown guy, and a guy that Wentz has had success with. It's just a home run, low-cost free agent that can make a big splash, make Wentz feel more comfortable. I think it's a no-brainer. We need to do that. And another guy Wentz might have a connection to, he was on that 2017 Super Bowl roster as a rookie, is cornerback Rasul Douglas. Now, he got cast away a year before Wentz from Philly, and he's kind of bounced around the league, but he had a breakout season with Green Bay last year, where somebody finally decided to play him in off-zone coverage like we play, and he looked awesome. So let's bring him here to do that for us. He's not going to command huge money, given that, out of his first 4 or 5 seasons in the league, 5 seasons in the league, he hasn't done much until now, but he's going to be cheap. Bring him here. Green Bay is very strapped for cap right now, so probably wouldn't be hard. So definitely should have Wentz on the phone with this guy. Seem like, hey man, we're trying to do that Tom Brady thing. But with guard, we really got to look at the guard position with all the top options really gone, and now with 2 starters out the door with us cutting flowers. I think the Andrew Norwell signing was a great move. It was going to be in this video, but I've gotten pushed back because of my dental situation. But I'm glad that we got him. I haven't seen the money yet. I hope it's reasonable. But this guy played his best football with Ron Rivera and John Matsko. Hopefully he's a reasonable deal. He could be a great pickup, even at 30. Ron's comfortable enough with, giving Charles Leno 3 years as a 30-year-older. So feel confident Norwell can do the same. The other guy I think makes way too much sense now, and make all your Panthers North jokes that you want, Trey Turner. Now, I know it might seem like a bad idea with his last 2 years of play being massively down, but he's only 28, and those 2 down seasons are huge for lowering his price. This guy was very close with Ron Rivera. He really expressed how upset he was with Ron's firing, and maybe that's what led to him being traded away promptly after they fired Ron. I'm not sure, but that's what happened. Like, he expressed how upset he was, and then somehow or another, he got traded away right after Ron left. And since then, in his 2 seasons without Ron, he has not looked great. And that's weird, because after his rookie season, he made the Pro Bowl every year he was with Ron. 5 Pro Bowls. And he hasn't been since. Honestly, this dude pretty much balled out, out the gate. But I think offensive guards tend to peak, between 28 and 32. And he's right there. Both of these guys are right there with a couple peak years left. He's got all his peak years left pretty much, I think. So reuniting him with Ron, both of them with Ron, can revive their career, replace Sheriff without a hitch. And this could be one of the smartest, shots we could take with the money right now. But I really think bringing Turner in with his homie, Andrew Norwell, it could be happening. Might have been why we were scrambling to get so much cap up, because maybe Ron's talked to both of these guys. They're both healthier than they've ever been in a long time, and they're willing to come back for Ron for, a super team-friendly deal, for both of them. Maybe, we know Norwell's coming. Hopefully, Turner's on the way too. And maybe Turner's on the line for post-June 1st when we get that Collins money. Like, I know Turner wouldn't mind, missing some OTAs if we didn't get the money up till there. He'd probably be happy with skipping out some of those since, he's already familiar with the staff. But fingers crossed that we could bring in Trey Turner to go along with Norwell. I have faith that they're getting back with Ron and Matsko. They get right back to playing good football. Now, I think we should also take a second crack at bringing one of Ron's cornerbacks here. If we need to do another restructure or something, get a little bit of money up, so we can take advantage of the fact that Dante Jackson is still sitting out there in free agency. Ron's former second-round pick. He fits the scheme very well. He's a great athlete. And no doubt, like, he's still sitting out there. He's going to be a bit cheaper. Like, we saw this cornerback group kind of be a little cheap anyway so far in free agency. This guy, we could maybe get him for a steal, something crazy like $7 million a year or something nuts. I don't know, but yeah, he's got a ton of potential. He's a Ron guy. Let's see if we can bring him in too. And no connection to anybody here, but with us losing so much of our D-line depth, I know it's been in the interior, but still, defensive end Arden Key, who came out the same year as Payne and went to the Raiders in the third round, is a free agent now. He played with the 49ers last year for $900,000, and they didn't re-sign him. But he had 11 solo tackles, 11 assists, 5 tackles for a loss, and 8 sacks, along with 17 quarterback hits through only 347 snaps. Opposed to Casey Toohill, who had 16 solo tackles, 11 assists, 1 tackle for a loss, 1 sack, and only 6 quarterback hits in 20 more snaps. So, I mean, if it costs like $1.5 million, like that kind of upgrade as a rotational pass rusher would be huge. With Settle and Ioannidis leaving, you got to replace that rotational production if we're ever going to find our way back to that 2020 kind of shape where we're getting, even the rotational guys are getting in there and getting production. We're going to have to bring in some guys like Arden Key. And I got a couple local guys here, some big names, but their performance hasn't matched so much. They probably take less money to come home to maybe push us over the edge. Like Kyle Fuller, local guy from Maryland. His brother's here. Chris Harris, our DB coach, was the defensive quality control guy in Chicago when he was drafted. So he's probably got a relationship with him. Now, he didn't light up the world and has moved to Denver last year, but that's a completely different kind of defense. And it was a crowded DB room. Now, that's a former elite cornerback, having like 2 down seasons, but man, maybe getting him to come home, play with his brother, could be like a veteran minimum type guy that could really help us out in spots to make like a decent push this year. And I don't know, maybe we can move him to the slot. Like I think he's still capable of excelling from there. But yeah, Kyle Fuller will be a lot of fun if we get him cheap. At 30, I mean, there's not a lot of calls. He's still out there. He hasn't got a lot of calls. The last free agent before we move on to the mock draft here, strong safety Terrell Edmonds. Now, he hasn't been super impressive in Pittsburgh, but he's been solid. But he'll be cheap and maybe even cheaper to come home. He's basically a 1-to-1 replacement for Landon Collins, but He's that perfect trifecta to replace him. Younger, faster, cheaper, plus a homer. Just like Landon, he would probably be best suited to play the big nickel linebacker type position. And we saw how much a move there helped Landon, how it helped Keanu O'Neal in Dallas, and some other guys around the league. And that position in general, we saw how much that elevated our whole defense at times. So I say keep it going with Edmonds. Bring him here for a lower price, put him in the same role, and boost this defense and his production by letting him play big nickel. This could open the door for us bringing in his brother next year. Maybe we can get his brother to come in when he's a free agent. Linebacker, athletic freak Tremaine Edmonds, who's going to hit free agency at 24, which is super young. That'd be awesome. And I think this is a position we should go after in the draft too. We want to play nickel as a base, so we need to find a guy that's as much a slot cornerback as he is a linebacker. And we also need to find a real dependable monster at the linebacker position. So those are a lot of the moves we can make using our contacts and free agency to try to beef up the team in some important positions. Now, let's talk about the draft. Like always, I'm using the PFF Mock Draft Simulator to try to keep it realistic. I do think they're really high on some people, though, and that's going to lead me to doing more draft jiu-jitsu than I think we would really need to land some of the guys I think we should definitely be targeting at the start. And I think we need to go all in with Wentz and just make our team the best possible. By going all in, I don't mean just surround him with a bunch of stuff. I mean just make the whole team better. And I mean that's what we should be doing anyway. And I think we need to move heaven and earth to trade back and do whatever we can to end up with an extra second round pick, an early one if possible. Trade back late into the first and try to pick up a second. Use some futures if we have to, because the opening trio I think we should target here is extremely important. I think it could go a long way to really completing this team. So, starting out at 11, yeah, I'm looking to trade back, like I said. And luckily here, the Raiders desperately want to come up. So I'm going to fleece them, move back 11 picks, and straight Mike Dick at them. I got their first, second, third, and fourth this year, and then fifth and seventh next year. That's pick 22, 54, 86, and 124. They wanted to move up because Sauce and Stingley were already off the board. They came up to get Trent McDuffie. So back at 21, Dallas wants to come up two spots. This would normally sound crazy, but it seems like everybody in our division was trading first rounders last year. So I'm going to go ahead and go on and do that and go back 2 spots and give them next year's fifth. And we already got an extra one from the Raiders. And take 24 and 88 from them. And Dallas took Devontae Wyatt, which is kind of scary. But back at 24, I take our guy, safety Daxton Hill from Michigan. The dude has elite speed, change of direction, agility, range, instincts, and coverage ability at the safety position. Outside of Kyle Hamilton and his freakish versatility, I think Daxton Hill is the clear-cut safety 2 in this draft. And he'd be safety 1 easy in any other draft. But, Kyle Hamilton's in this one. You can line him up anywhere, box slot, but I really think he can excel over the top for us, as that deep coverage safety. And Hill's a guy I think could be a day one starter with more high end potential than even Justin Reed or Marcus Williams, at least athletically. He's a far better athlete. So this is actually the one guy in the early trio I'm recommending here that if we miss him, it wouldn't be the end of the world. The other two guys I think are far more rare and far more important. But this is, if we missed out on him, we could still grab a high potential, rangy free safety type later, like Nick Cross from Maryland would actually be really good. And Kirby Joseph, who's got super long arms and he's a bit of a ball hawk, he'd be available later. He'd be a good option. But Hill is definitely the far more versatile, far more complete day one type option. And he'd just be great in this defense. Keep with that versatility, be able to roll him around different spots. So, Daxton Hill. And because I know this simulator pretty well and how it works, I know I'm not going to be able to take the next guy here. He's not going to make it to the second round. Even though I'm pretty sure in the draft he'll be available well into the second round. I mean, some people still have him projected as a third rounder, and especially after a slight letdown of the combine, as long as we got a mid second round pick, I think we can get him, and we definitely need to. This guy is crucial to our transition to nickel as a base. This guy is special in that way. So in here I traded up, to the Titans, first round pick at 26 to get him. But like I said, that's not going to be necessary at all in real life. But that dude is Jalen Petrie from Baylor. You have him listed as a corner here. A lot of places have him as a safety. But he played the star role at Baylor. And that's basically like a cornerback in the linebacker position. Kind of what Jalen Ramsey does a lot for the Rams. But for us, Petrie represents the perfect nickel linebacker. He's like a very high-end version of what we have in Cameron Curl, like out of the slot and coverage-wise, mixed with what Landon Collins was able to do against the run and out in the flats for us this year. If we had Curl, Petrie, and Daxton Hill as that, nickel package group, that would be unstoppable. And we'd almost be there for nickel as our base. And that's what Ron and Jack are striving for, and these are perfect guys for that. But we're still missing something. We need to take our final step here, our move to, nickel as a base. And even not just nickel as a base, just to make this defense better. This is something we're, missing very badly. At 48, linebacker Leo Chanel. Chanel number 5. After his combine performance, I'm praying he's still there early in the second when we pick. And the only reason I think we might be safe is he lacks a ton of coverage tape. But he still looks good dropping into zones and stuff. I have no doubt that he's fine in coverage. And his 9.99 RAS score is almost as impressive as his tape. You got to watch this guy. And the only reason I think that we'll be safe getting him in the second is, linebacker positions kind of falling in value. And there being 2 consensus first-round linebackers with Nakobe Dean and Devin Lloyd already. And then Brandon Smith scoring a perfect 10 at 6'3", 250 pounds. Now, I love Brandon Smith coming in this season, and he's a Virginia boy. He was my favorite linebacker coming in this season, and then I saw Leo Chanel. But Brandon Smith is going to get that Jamin Davis first-round bump because of his testing. And honestly, he put out way better, film on tape, play on tape before, so I think he deserves it. But like I said, Chanel just stole my heart. This guy does things on tape nobody short of Micah Parsons does around the line of scrimmage. And when it comes to taking on blocks, penetrating the offensive line, sifting through the garbage, the guy phases through offensive linemen like a ghost. Like, there's no resistance at all. He looks good in space, too, when he's out there. And with his insane testing, great instincts, and trigger, really gives me confidence that, he'll have the ability to thrive out there, too. But this is a guy we can put out there with Jamin. Just those two out there. Let Jamin use his speed, outside to cover the flats while Leo crashes down and destroys any thought of a run game, or comes through our D-line for a nearly unstoppable blitz. With Petrie out there policing the area Landon used to occupy, man. Along with his ability to cover the slot, and then Curl doing what he does best, giving support from the next level with his elite instincts. Offenses will have to pray they can get behind William Jackson or Fuller faster than Hill can drive down on them. If we get him, with this lineup, our pass rush should have plenty of time to get home. And, like they have a part-time job with a boss that, wants to be their buddy. They should get home early and often. Honestly, I could end this draft with these 3 picks and say we're Super Bowl bound. I really feel like if you add these 3 defensive players from this draft to this defense, I really don't know who's gonna move the ball on us. I really don't. I think it's a great setup to just make a unstoppable nickel defense. But we're only in the 3rd round. We're only heading into the 3rd round now. We've had 3 picks, and everything else is gravy. And at 86, we're going to do something to help out our boy Wentz. And a lot of people might not think this guy's going to be here, but I think he will. 86, he's here on the simulator. Christian Watson from long, tall, fast wide receiver from Wentz's alma mater. It's just perfect match here. Type of guy Wentz loves to throw to. 6'4", 208 pounds. Blew up the combine, after already having a nice showing at the Senior Bowl. But I think he makes it this far because he still played in the FCS. So I don't think he's taking that leap into the 2nd or even 1st round like some people are saying. Like, he's the FCS version of DJ Chark, who went to LSU. DJ Chark went to LSU and was still a 2nd rounder. He was 6'4", 208 pounds, 4.3 speed. Pretty much the same guy from, one of the biggest wide receiver schools there is. Still made it to the 2nd round. This guy's the same guy. He's going to go in the 3rd. Which would be great for us after regaining a 3rd rounder. In our trade back with Raiders in Dallas. We got 2 of them now. So now with that pick we got from Dallas, 88, Rasheed Walker, offensive tackle. Some people are project him as a guard now, which is crazy. Like, he was one of my favorite tackles coming in this season, but he had a down season. Penn State by way of Waldorf, Maryland. He was in my local prospects mock, but a lot higher back then. He was seen as like a 1st-round prospect, earlier in the year. And we saw his stock drop over the season from inconsistent play, but he has all the physical tools. He showed that he could manhandle top-tier edge rushers, when he went up against that rotation of possible first overall pick Aiden Hutchinson, probable 1st-rounder David Ajabo, and Jesse Laquetta, who put the giant Daniel Falalay on his ass at the Senior Bowl practices. Like, he manhandled those dudes. I mean, he gave up, a couple pressures and stuff, and a horrible coverage sack from the quarterback Clifford holding on to the ball for 35 seconds or something crazy, but otherwise, man, I saw him yoke Aiden Hutchinson up a couple times, just drive him back. So he's got all the tools, just needs to get down to consistency. And even if being projected as an offensive guard, fine. We need those too. And I still think he has the tools to be a starting left tackle. Either way, high potential offensive lineman, local guy, just needs some work. Great pick in the third. On to the fourth with a bang, and another one of my local prospect guys from Upper Marlboro, Maryland, just like Chase. At pick 113, cornerback Tariq Castro-fields, 6'1", 200 pounds, long, fast cornerback, 4.3 speed at the combine. His best play's been in zone coverage. That's perfect for us. His skills and physical attributes apply really well, to reacting and closing to distance on the receivers. And he's a plus run defender, too. Just an all-around great candidate for one of those Ron Rivera mid-round cornerback gems. I think Tariq Castro-fields could be that guy. I made some other trades here, moved some other stuff around, going back with the Titans here, moving back 4 spots from 124 to 128, then jump up from just a bunch of stuff you guys don't need to hear. I'm going to put up the little draft sheet here. But 128 offensive tackle Obina Eze, 6'7", 321 pounds, elite length, with over 36-inch arms, great punch, good foot quickness, former basketball player. He moved here from Nigeria 6 years ago to play basketball, then switched over to football. So he's pretty new to the sport, but he's already shown lots of promise. NFL analyst Lance Zierlein, his pro comp forms Cornelius Lucas. And could you imagine what Lucas could have been if he was with John Matsko, from the start, from the draft, instead of, finally getting to him at age 29? I think, this guy could be awesome, with Matsko to shape him into a possible franchise left tackle. I really think he's got that kind of potential. Another big trade, moving a lot around here, back to 170, and take another shot at giving Wentz, his favorite type of weapon. Let's give him a tight end here at 170. Jelani Woods, 6'7", 253 pounds, ran a 4.6 140 at the combine. Former QB turned tight end, just like Logan Thomas, but maybe an even bigger freak in nature. He burns linebackers and bullies DBs. Right now, he's sitting at a 9.97 RAS, right below Sammis Reyes, But with actual football experience, even if he's only been a tight end for 4 seasons, he still has all the tools to be a dangerous pass-catching threat right away when he gets there, and eventually an all-around tight end. He's decent. He's got long arms. He's showed some promise in blocking, but, man, he can be a pass-catching threat right away, and this would be a steal after the combine. But in this class, I don't think any of the tight ends go until round 3, really. So I'd feel great if we got Woods, late in the day 3 here at 170. Then 187, taking Cam Jurgens here. Honestly, this guy wasn't on my radar at all until the combine. And when I saw his movement, how well he moved, it was just so impressive. Along with that, he's got solid length. He's got, really good length for a center prospect. But, and that high-end speed. I feel like you get this guy out, and he could really, pull and get to, next level if you need to. He could... This pick is pure upside and physical tools, because I really haven't seen as much of him I've seen of other guys. And I just have faith with John Matsko. Grab this guy, and it'd be just like, Chase Roulier. Well, Chase Roulier, the coaching staff before kind of molded him, but this could be a similar thing, a late round center prospect like this, only this is a high upside physical tools guy. And with the last pick, I talked about this guy a lot before, but now we got JD back. We still need another running back. And this guy does everything that JD does, but in a supersized package. I've talked about him in a couple videos. This guy could stand up to Micah Parsons in pass pro. And that's at 257. We're getting Xander Horvath from Purdue. 6'2", about 240. Dude's a freak of nature. He's tough as nails. And he's just an absolute ox. Like, we need this guy. They talked about us wanting a big bruising back to share the load with Antonio Gibson. Like, this guy's not just a big bruising back. Like, he's explosive. He can catch. Everything about this guy is just awesome. Didn't get used a whole lot in Purdue, but this guy averaged 5 yards a carry and 10 yards of reception. So he'd be a great piece to add to this team. Like I said, especially if Micah Parsons is going to be in this division for like at least the next 5 years, because of his contract. Probably the next 10. We got to put up with that. Bring in a guy who can be your third down back that can stand up and pass protect against this guy. He's 6'2", 240 pound running back like this, and can still do all the things you need him to do outside of pass pro. So there's the post Carson Wentz trade draft, and it's almost perfect in my opinion. I really think Chenal, Petrie, and Hill should be our top targets, and we should do everything possible to get those guys. Honestly, I do think we're going to end up with a trade back. My prediction is with the Steelers. I could see them moving up, especially if Malik Willis is there. Only if Malik Willis is there. But I think the Saints could try to move up too. And that would be the best because their picks are earlier. But either way, I think I could see that. I can see a trade back honestly happening. And I'm really hoping with Petrie playing such a niche position, there aren't a lot of teams after him, and that he can, go closer to his original predicted area. He did show he could play a more traditional role at the Senior Bowl, but still more like box safeties don't go that high. So who knows? He was projected as a third rounder for a long time, but got a bump up from a Senior Bowl performance. But maybe his fine but less than stellar combine drops him back down, and we get lucky. Because we're at least going to get a third rounder from a trade back. We shouldn't settle for anything less than a second, but yeah, definitely a second to go back 10 picks. But he's just a rare, perfect blend of instincts, intelligence, dog mentality, and a special position fit. Like, we need that dude. And Chenal is special too. Hopefully the fact that, 6 foot, 220 pound coverage linebackers are the current trend gets him out of the first, and to us, at 48, Ron and Jack have got to love this guy. If they've seen him, they have to be in love. Now, I'm really hoping Bill Belichick is fully committed to getting Mac Jones a wide receiver in the first, like everyone thinks, because this could be a guy Belichick falls in love with too. Like, this is his type. And man, Do not want him snatching them up there at, what, 21 or whatever they're at. But he'll just caps everything perfectly. If we get him, he's honestly, I think he could make it to the early second, but we're not going to be there in the early second, so we got to take him late in the first. Who cares if we reach, if we get the guys we need? And like I said, if we miss him, we can come back later and grab Nick Cross, who's a bigger, freakier athlete with, less polish, but the absolute dream trifecta: Hill, Chanel, and Petrie. Unless you want to get really crazy and dreaming, like Mike Renner had Hamilton dropping to us at 11 in his mock draft, but he also had Chanel going before our second round pick. But if we got Hamilton at 11 and Chanel at 48, then in my opinion, we could just trade away the whole rest of the draft. Fuck the rest of the draft. We trade whatever. If we get those two, trade everything else away to get up and get Petrie, call it a day. The whole league is fucked. Like Hamilton, Chanel, and Petrie. Then Ron Rivera and Jack Del Rio need to buy lottery tickets because they're the luckiest dudes in the planet. Nobody is messing with our defense. Nobody, if that happens. But that's a long shot. But yeah, this draft is packed with talent, but rarely are there 3 or 4 players that are such perfect fits for your team. And now we just got to hope that Ron, Marty, Eric Stokes, and Tim Gribble all see it and, see it that way. And then we get very lucky on top of that. So, finishing out the defense that way, adding Carson Wentz to this offense, who I've definitely warmed up to a lot more. I'm actually thrilled about it now. Like, I was initially so pissed. Now I'm excited. Doing that, making a few of those free agency moves, like adding 2 more Ron's guys. Fucking go all in on this, Panthers North, but with some, more good guys that, at this point would be cheap. Trey Turner gives us a solid option at guard. Reunite him with Norwell. And Dante Jackson, nobody signed him yet. Fits Ron's scheme, lots of speed. Add that extra corner to this. Make that defense just disgusting. And along with one of Carson's compadres, like Fulgham, like, that makes us a legit contender. Like, I think we're already pretty close to a legit contender with Carson. Like, I think Carson Wentz, if our defense hits its stride like it did in the middle of last year, and Carson Wentz is out there putting up the kind of points he's going to be able to do with our offense, we're going to be hard to beat. And I know that sounds, homer, but I think it's legit. Like, I think everybody's that. People like Sam Monson on PFF, who I'm a huge fan of, massive fan. He, last year, was gung-ho about us getting Fitzpatrick. And now he's completely out over Carson Wentz. It doesn't make any sense. Like, Carson Wentz, just look at what he's had around him. Look at what he had around him. He had the talent to be a second overall pick from, he put North Dakota State University on the map, and like, how is that guy a worse situation than Fitzpatrick? Like, how is he all for Fitzpatrick but out on a guy with the arm talent of Wentz that's never had wide receivers like it? Just doesn't make any sense to me. I think that put this all together, these weapons, we're going to slay. And if make the protection as good as it's been, fix our defense up, and we become a juggernaut in Ron's third year. You know, like he did in Carolina. He got to like 14 wins in his third season, then had a down season, then had the 15-1 season. I think we get to that 15-1 status or 15-2 status this year if we make the right moves in the draft. We get lucky in the draft, pick up a couple more, you know, cheap but smart free agents, and this thing could be serious. And like Ron got it to like he got Carolina in third season, but with a younger, even more talented overall roster. But that's the video. Thanks for tuning in to the Washington Command Center. Remember to hit that like button and subscribe down below for the most opinionated and ice-cold calculated takes on all things Washington Commanders. And if you made it this far, I definitely love y'all. Peace.